So now let us understand the behavior of bond. It's going to be in a nutshell, not much more discussions on this. Now we all understand that due to the interlocking properties of the ribs or the deformed bars or the protrusions which are there in the deformed bars have more significant, more amount of bond capacity. They are much better in resisting bond as compared to the plain bars. Now when the deformed reinforcing bar is subjected to tension on loading, we are understanding that this deformed bar is used as reinforcement in concrete. On loading, obviously, as said earlier, the surface adhesion is gradually overcome. As I said earlier, even if there is a small slip, it fails. So surface adhesion is gradually overcome, and then what happens is the bearing forces on the protrusions or the ribs and the friction forces on the protrusions or ribs and the surface of the bar gets mobilized. So obviously it is first the adhesion. Once the adhesion is over, adhesion cannot take care of anything, then immediately the other things start taking action. Look at this, that's the adhesion which is there throughout the bar. So no sooner, because of bending, because of pulling, this adhesion breaks, immediately what will happen is there will be pressure put in this direction. Okay, on the ribs, that is due to bearing, and there will be friction also, which will be preventing the movement. So first it is adhesion, then second thing is bearing and friction, which will be coming into picture. Now as the tension increases, the slip increases too. The slipping starts. The friction on the surface of the reinforcing bar is also overcome. So the pull becomes a bit too much for the friction also to take. Then only the forces at the contact faces between the ribs and the surrounding concrete allow the force transfer. So the ribs which are there, they will be preventing the bar from moving. These ribs which are there, they prevent the bar from moving. Now as per the equilibrium of forces, these forces on the bar surface are balanced by the shear and compressive stresses on the contact surface areas of concrete. Now the radial components of these forces on the concrete surfaces, the radial components as shown over here, create hoop stress. Hoop is the one which is surrounding all this in the concrete around the reinforcing bar. The hoop stress is created over there. Generally, pull out of reinforcement and splitting of reinforcement are two types of failures which are associated with bond failure. So as a result of this, we have either pull out of reinforcement or splitting of reinforcement as a failure of the bond. Now what is pull out? The bar gets pulled out like this. If you see, there is slippage and the bar is pulled out. The bar was originally in location, it is pulled out like this. Or splitting occurs, if you can see in the beam members, or the splitting occurs from here like this and it continues further. So splitting occurs. So these two types of failures can be seen in this particular thing. First thing, as I've said, the adhesion is over, then the bearing and friction takes over, friction gets over, and then finally the load comes on bearing itself, and the failure can occur because of this. Now it is observed that when the protrusions, the deformations or the ribs are too high and are spaced too closely, these protrusions are too high and spaced too closely, the bar will fail by pull out of the reinforcement. Because there will be too much of shear stress, the bar will get pulled out when these are too high and spaced too closely. When the spacing of the protrusion is larger than 10 times their height, crushing failure is observed just ahead of the protrusions, forming a wedge in front of the protrusion. So in front of a protrusion, there would be a wedge created and then crushing would be occurring. This wedge creates transverse cracks if the cover to the reinforcement or spacing between the reinforcement is very small, leading to splitting cracks like this. splitting cracks. They will start splitting. Now that's the hoop tensile stress which is shown over here, which I was just mentioning. Because of this, there is hoop tensile stress which is created. Now note one important fact which all the structural engineers as well as site engineers should understand. But if the cover to the reinforcement, spacing of the reinforcement and the transverse reinforcement, that is the shear stirrups, are sufficient, then if they are sufficient in amount to preventing the splitting, then due to shear, splitting due to shear, pull-out failure will occur. Then along the surface of the reinforcement, a pull-out failure will occur. If the anchorage provided to the reinforcement is satisfactory, then the reinforcement will be stressed up to the yield point. Now understand this part. If the cover to the reinforcement, spacing to the reinforcement and transverse, that is shear stirrups, are sufficient in amount provided, then splitting can be avoided totally, and then only pull out failure will occur. And about this pull out, we understand that if the proper anchorage is provided to the reinforcement, then the reinforcement will be stressed up to the yield point. And what we are doing is we are designing everything up to the yield point. So we need to take care that the cover of the reinforcement, the spacing of the reinforcement and the shear stirrups provided are adequate so as to take care of this. Now some important properties which we have to understand as structural engineers and site engineers before continuing with bond theory. The factors which affect the bonds are as follows. First one is the mechanical properties of concrete. So what we understand is that the effect of concrete properties on bond strength for concrete up to M55, they are related with square root of the compressive strength, whereas for grades higher than the bond strength, higher than M55, the bond strength decreases with increase in compressive strength. Up to M55, it is related with square root of the FCK, but further than M55, there is hardly any increase, but there is actually decrease in compressive strength. These are all experimental findings which we have got. The surface condition of the bar, depending upon the bar surface condition such as cleanliness of the bar having rust, epoxy coatings, whatever, the development of bond will vary. If the bar is rough, the development of bond will be adequate, it will be proper, it will affect friction, the friction will be better. But at the same time, if there is epoxy coating over there, the bond will be affected because it will be more of a lubricated type of coating which is given over there. Please note one thing, the thickness of the epoxy coating is immaterial. The application of epoxy coating creates this particular property, surface condition of the bar. Third one, grade of the concrete. We all know that as the grade of concrete increases, the tensile strength of concrete increases. So as the tensile strength of concrete increases, so the bond strength also of the concrete increases. Bar diameter, we all understand that from the experimental findings, the bond force created by both concrete and the stirrups, the transverse reinforcement, increases as the bar diameter increases per unit length of the bar. Geometry of the bars, that is deformation, its height, spacing, width, face angle, all that. Now Clark has done a lot of research in this, and during the years from 1946 to 1950 he has informed that the deformed bar should have maximum average spacing of deformations equal to 70% of nominal diameter, minimum height equal to 4% of nominal diameter with a nominal diameter of 13 mm or smaller, and 4.5% of nominal diameters for bars with nominal diameter of 16 mm and 5% for larger bars. So he has already done a lot of research and then he has given this as the specification for the geometry of bars. Now one important property which everyone has to remember is the cover for reinforcement and spacing of bars. For larger cover to reinforcement and larger bar spacing, the possible type of failure is pull-out failure, which we always desire. Pull-out failure rather than the splitting failure. Therefore, the bond strength increases as the cover and the bar spacing increase. Please remember, the bond strength increases because we are taking the bar up to its yield strength. So that's why the bond strength increases with the increased cover and bar spacing. Point number 7 is presence of confinement whenever we provide stirrups. The transverse reinforcements increase the bond strength by process of confinement, and it limits the progressing of the splitting cracks. This we have seen in shear also earlier whenever we have discussed the properties of shear. So confinement is a better property which takes care of progressing of splitting cracks. So it is much better that we have stirrups at closer spacing. Confinement of concrete around bars. The use of workability enhancing admixtures. Please note this part, very important. The use of workability enhancing admixtures and the increased slump have a negative effect on the bond strength. Also, the bond strength of concrete which is non-vibrated is observed to be lower than that of the vibrated ones. Lot of research has been done on this. The results have been published. So this is the result of those experiments. Regarding aggregates used in concrete, the bond strength of reinforcement cast in normal aggregates with or without transverse reinforcement is observed to be higher than the reinforcement with lightweight concrete, lightweight aggregates. So a good aggregate gives good bond strength. That is what has been developed over here. Another three factors which are very important is coating applied on reinforcement to reduce corrosion. So we have something like epoxy coatings or galvanized coatings. These reduce the bond strength. The coatings which are applied reduce the bond strength. Now type of reinforcement, which we have already discussed so many times now. Reinforcement with protrusions or ribs have enhanced bond strength, more bond strength as compared to plain MS round bars. Also, fiber reinforcement, especially steel fiber, increase the bond strength of reinforcement by behaving as transverse reinforcement. Now another very important point which has been mentioned over here is bar casting position. Now this is especially important for structural engineers and site engineers. The entrapped air in the concrete invariably rise towards the top. The entrapped air goes on moving towards the top during the vibration, and this normally gets trapped between the horizontal, it gets trapped beneath the horizontal reinforcement. Now these air pockets weaken the bond at the underside of these bars. A very dangerous thing to occur. This effect has been given a name as top cast bar effect, and it has been observed in the top bars rather than lower placed ones. Thus, top cast bars show lower bond strengths than bars placed lower in a member. So as site engineers, we need to take care whenever we are doing the vibration, whenever we are doing concreting, we have to take care to see that there are no entrapped bubbles or entrapped air over there, or get it reduced to the minimum, because as this air bubble moves up, the bubbles get trapped below the reinforcement, and whenever the bubble gets trapped below the reinforcement, it is disastrous for bond because bond gets drastically reduced. So these are the 12 factors which affect the bond. Please remember these are very important for the site engineers to take care on the site, as well as the structural engineers whenever they are designing.